Hey guys, Jamie and Jeremy from Guildbrook Farm, and welcome to The Dirt. The Dirt is where we share a little bit about why we do what we do, why we think what we think, and this is going to be all about the house build. As a matter of fact, we decided that since the house build is going to be our primary concern for the next several months, we're going to be doing dirts every week or every other week. After we complete a certain goal with the house build, we'll do a dirt on it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the build, answer your questions, and also talk about any mistakes or any things that we would change. And so if you guys are following along, I know a lot of you guys said that you guys were in the process of building yourself or had plans to build yourself, and you guys are watching us, maybe we can offer some tips or tricks that we learned as we're doing this.
Yep.
All right, so this episode of The Dirt is going to be all about our footers. We're going to answer your questions on the footers, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we would do differently. And for those of you guys that are new, we are building an ICF house, and we are general contracting ourselves. So take everything we say with a grain of salt. This is our first time doing this. We're kind of teaching ourselves, or rather, he's teaching himself along the way.
We're not experts by any stretch, so like she said, take this with a grain of salt. We're just trying to figure it out as we go. And I think this will be pretty valuable for people trying to do the same thing. Maybe you'll be able to learn from our mistakes and not make the same mistakes.
All right, so the first question is, why not build forms for the footers?
I did seriously consider building forms on top of the dirt because the main reason would be once the wall is sitting on the footer that has been poured in forms, you can put your French drain or your perimeter drain, foundation drain, below the top of the footing, and your waterproofing can go down like a step. So that would have been a good way to do the waterproofing, but in terms of time and cost, it just didn't make as much sense when most people, at least in this area, do trench footers, and that's what we ended up doing, where we use the trench as the form. The waterproofing issue, once it's waterproofed down, we're going to use peel and stick membrane and drain board, and that'll go right down to the drain pipe, and so it's pretty much not an issue. Everybody I talked to said just go ahead and do trench footers and you'll be fine.
Where is the septic line?
Right over there. People are asking why we didn't do trenching for plumbing under the slab and all that, and for electricity, and there's no plumbing in the basement. We don't have plans to put a bathroom or any of that. I was going to put a floor drain in here, but just decided not to for time and cost reason.
And creepy crawlies crawling up the drain.
Yeah, you don't want creepy crawlies coming up through the drain, because it was going to be a daylight floor drain in case something leaked or something.
And this way we can, at some point finish the basement if we ever wanted to. Right now it's going to be an unfinished space for primarily for like food pantry storage, and he'll keep some of his workshop stuff going on down there in a corner. And who knows, it might be an art studio at some point too.
Right, and all the utilities will be in here. So septic line will be over there and run out under the front porch to the septic tank, and yeah.
Did you already do a perk test with septic?
Yeah, a lot of people asked if we did perk test already, and yes, that was a condition of buying the property. I wanted to have the soil perked, and I wanted to have the septic and well permits as part of purchasing the property. That was part of the deal. So yeah, we had that. That was the very first thing we did. Make sure we could get water and make sure that we could put a septic system in.
Will the basement have a sump pump pit?
No. A few people asked that question, and I was wondering if they were from up north, because that's the only place I've seen sump pump pits in basements, was a lot of houses up north. We don't have a need for one, I don't think. We shouldn't need a sump pump pit. We are hoping not to have a leaky basement. There's no problem with groundwater. I mean, we're at the top of a hill, so our biggest challenge in terms of water in the basement is to make sure the joint between the wall and the footer are sealed, and we use waterproofing peel and stick, like I said, to make sure that happens, and make sure that all of our drains and gravel and all that are in correctly, so any water that does get down here gets drained out. The other good thing about the design of the house is both the front and back will be covered with porches. The side that faces the mountain will have a 10-foot elevated deck. This side will be the only side that does not have a porch, but my roofs will have 2-foot overhangs, and so I designed all that to manage water and keep it away from the foundation.
Why are the 2 footing pads different sizes? Meaning the two in the
two
center.
center pads are different sizes. That's what the engineer specified. The one closest to this wall is 4 by 4 feet because it is holding up basically 2 floors. There'll be a column that holds the support beam in the basement that holds the first floor, and then the second floor will be on top of that, but that second floor is just a loft, so it's like half of the house. The pad that is closest to the mountain is only 3 feet by 3 feet because it only has to hold up 1 floor and basically the edge of the loft, so that's how he designed it.
So basically, we've talked about this in one of the other videos, but the basement is going to be about 1,200 square feet. The first floor is going to be, and it's going to be unfinished. The basement's going to be unfinished. It's just going to be for storage and for, mechanicals, and also for the workshop. The first floor is going to be 1,200 square feet on top of that, and that's going to be 1 bedroom, master bedroom, kitchen, living room, laundry room,
Bathroom. And closet.
Yep.
And a pantry.
Well, if you call it that. It's like this big.
It's 4 by 4. It's a pantry. It's a little pantry. It's an upstairs pantry. The whole basement is going to be a pantry, basically.
Yeah, but
like in our old house.
To keep you from running downstairs all the time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that will be a half floor, and that's going to be 2 bedrooms and a loft. And the loft is going to be a home office, and then the 2 bedrooms right now are going to be for the kids. And then when one of them goes off to college, probably that bedroom will end up being an art studio or something of the sort. So. It sounds like a lot of space, but it's really not a lot of space, all things considered, especially since we live and work from home. And, a lot of people will build, an outdoor kitchen, and they'll have, some sort of root cellar or something outside. We're combining that all into one. And so when you consider all that, it's going to be fairly tight, I would say, especially with the office and the studio. Yeah, we looked at all the functions and things that we wanted to be able to do, and how much space we wanted, and I kept on squishing it down, and then finally she said it's too small, so I had to make it a little bit bigger again. So it's when you couldn't walk around the bed or fit a side table in next to the bed, that's a little tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny homes are not our thing at all.
We've been in that little trailer now 2 years, and it's pretty small. Yep. There are a lot of people who live in way smaller, but we're not hoarders by any means. We don't keep a lot of decorations or tchotchkes or anything like that, but it's, a little bit of space. Pretty tight. All right. How deep do you have to bury water lines below frost line? Here, they do it about 2 feet underground, because they'll bury the water line and the power for the well to run the pump. That's that little pink dot. So that's about 2 feet under the finished grade, and we'll just dig a trench and run that line, and it'll come through the wall, and right here will be the pressure tank and hot water heater and all the water stuff, and then from there it'll go throughout the house. And battery bank and stuff's going to be on this side. Yeah, batteries and inverter and all that will be over there. Which the next question is, will you need venting to go outside for the battery bank? No, because we use lithium iron phosphate batteries. They are not flooded lead acid batteries. They don't off gas like those kinds of batteries do, so we don't need to vent them. A lot of people mentioned about having the HVAC under the porch. Oh, I mentioned it when I was doing one of the videos, that putting the condensers under one of the porches, a lot of people said don't do that, and it makes sense not to do that. I don't know why I was thinking that. I was just kind of trying to hide it, but they produce a lot of heat and need to move a lot of air, and if they don't have enough room, then they don't work very well, don't work as efficiently. So they won't be under the porch, they'll be outside of the porch. We also have to figure out where to put like a propane tank. and I'm thinking it's probably going to go over here somewhere. But yeah.
All right, and this is like the biggest question everybody's asking. Why didn't you use an angle grinder, chop saw, acetylene torch to cut the rebar? Why did you use the tractor?
Because it was awesome. Yes, I have an angle grinder, and yes, we have an acetylene torch, and we have a chop saw, and that would have been easy. I mean, if you watched me do the well house video, I was using an angle grinder to cut that rebar, but I bought that cutter bender because I knew we were going to have to make bends, and it just happens to have a cutter on it as well. And then I just thought it would be cool to use the tractor to
Thinking outside the box.
think outside the box. And it was fun, man. Lloyd enjoyed it. All he had to do was raise and lower the bucket about 72 times, but it worked.
What software did you use for the blueprints for the house? Because you designed your own house. We designed our own house, so.
Yeah, this is the 6th design. I used a program called Chief Architect. It's made just for designing houses. I also use SketchUp. If I had a choice, I think I would probably just use SketchUp from now on because you have complete control over the components that you make. With the other software, the Chief Architect software, it kind of makes a lot of assumptions and tries to do things for you that you don't necessarily want done. So if you want to put a wall here, it tries to put what it considers a wall is like the outside cladding, the inside drywall, the insulation, all that, and it just puts it all together. And anytime you want to make a change, if you need to move something, it just kind of throws the whole design off. And sometimes, like the dormers will invert and look real dumb. I don't know. It was a struggle to get that software to do what I wanted it to do. So if I had to do it over, I'd just go with something like SketchUp, which is simple to learn and simple to use. Might take a little longer, but in the end, you have exact control over every dimension.
Are you going to salvage any trees for firewood?
Oh, man, we've got so much firewood now, and we're going to be clearing some of this over here. These oaks, probably yes. None of the pines, I don't need any more pines. And most of it is scrub. It's just all these little scrubby trees that aren't really worth messing with. At one time, this whole thing was logged quite a while ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But so all the trees on this particular part of the property just aren't, you couldn't even use them for timber because they're not big enough. And so it's just like, yeah, we'll use the oak for firewood. And just, yeah.
I know a lot of people were concerned about all the clearing, and
yeah.
You can probably hear the wind in the background. One of the benefits of clearing, other than the view, which is absolutely amazing because we've seen our neighbors, they have theirs nice and cleared, and what it looks like when it is cleared, the sunsets are just unreal.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the benefits is you get a nice breeze, whereas the trees are always blocking your breeze. And when it gets up there, 90 degrees with 90% humidity, if there's any kind of breeze going whatsoever, you want to try and capture that. And who knows, maybe at some point we'll put in some sort of windmill or something of the sort.
The wind blows much more during the winter months when the sun is down lower, and so you're not getting as much solar. So we probably will mess with getting some sort of a wind turbine once we have all this cleaned up. And the other issue people had with trees, I mean, they think that you're killing all the trees. These trees come back so quickly. You kind of have, it's a property maintenance issue to keep the trees at bay where you want to have, lawn or garden or whatever. There's no problem with trees growing here.
Well, there are a couple other things I wanted to address with that too. The other thing is other than the view and having a nice breeze and whatnot, we do want to have a fire break. Fires do happen up here, and it's very challenging to get fire trucks up in this area. I mean, pretty much our property would be demolished if we had a nice good wildfire going. So we want to make sure that we have a nice big fire break. Bugs, stink bugs, you see how bad they are, and ticks, that kind of thing. We want to make sure those stay back. Another thing is snakes. I've never been a big fan of yards because you have to mow them, and so I'd prefer to have trees if I could. But when you have a lawn and you have it mowed, you don't have to worry about things such as rattlesnakes, copperheads, which are a big. I shouldn't say problem, but they're up here.
They're up here a lot. Also, black widows, man. I've killed a dozen black widows up here on this hilltop. just in the past month.
And if you guys follow us on Instagram, you know that not too long ago I went to a forest herb program, which is forestry for women, and one of the things that some of the foresters are trying to do around here, and some of the ecologists and whatnot, is push back some of this pine and get the oaks in here, in particular hardwoods, in particular oak, locust, that kind of thing, black walnut. And so clearing out a lot of this, allowing some of that original forest to grow back, because this was owned by paper mill or
this
something.
This particular lot, part of our property was owned by Weyerhaeuser a long time ago, and they were growing these loblolly pines for pulpwood.
Yeah. So getting some of these trees thinned out and allowing the oaks to grow back is a good thing. And so, we will be doing a lot of maintenance with this property, but this is just one step. So,
yep.
People want to know if you're going to build a garage or have a garden or a barn. What are your plans?
Well, I'm going to have a little workshop in the basement, and I'm not going to, well, not a garage per se, but down where the trailer is, I'm going to put a workshop there. Probably a big pole barn. And garden up here wherever she wants it.
Yes, this is the South Ridge over here, so we're going to clear that not only for the view, but also I want to have a greenhouse and some raised beds and start putting up an orchard up here. One of the biggest things of living remotely like this is fresh fruits and vegetables. It's very challenging to have that, and that's going to be a priority, is making sure that we're able to grow what we can.
Organic. It's trying to find organic stuff.
Organic's impossible up here, but
yeah.
It's pretty much impossible up here. But even still, when I go to town and go shopping, it's probably every 2 weeks, and you start eating your leafy vegetables first, because they go bad the quickest, and then you get down to your cabbages and carrots and celery at the end of 2 weeks, and they're all wilty and saggy, sad looking.
Yeah, we want to be able to grow our own and do it organically.
Yes. All right, and now finally, I guess to wrap this up, the big question is what would you do differently with the footers? What would you pass on to somebody else?
Well, so far, I wouldn't do anything differently with the excavation part. That went perfectly. The footer part, I would have just rechecked my math and ordered enough concrete. Always order an extra yard than what you think you will need. And I knew that, I just didn't do it. There was so much stuff going on, and I was trying to make sure I didn't miss anything, and that's one thing I missed. But other than that, everything went well. But that mistake cost me
time and money.
An hour and a half to 2 hours of just paying people to stand around, and a trip charge from the concrete company, because they don't want to haul 2 yards as far as they had to haul it. So that was my bad, but ultimately I still actually came in just under budget for the footer, because of using the trench footers instead of doing the forms. I originally had budgeted to do forms, and it all worked out. So far we're on schedule. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. Let me see, what else would I do differently?
The wood bridge, we didn't need that for the trucks.
Turned out we didn't need to do that. Those trucks are all-terrain, 4-wheel drive with huge tires, and he just kind of drove across the trench. But it did help not cave in where he drove, and he did drive over one of them, but the other one the angle was weird, so he still just drove across it anyway.
I would say probably, you give me your opinion, that it was really important to have 3 people on hand, in addition to us 2, with the labor, because of how fast this moved.
There's no way you could do this by yourself. With as much stuff that needs to happen all at the same time, you need at least 5 people doing a project like this. Checking level, moving concrete from one place to another to get low spots filled and high spots out. Have one person floating, one person moving concrete, one person taking measurements. It worked out well, and my goal was to get it done in 90 minutes, and it ended up being about 3 hours, but that was because of the screw up with the concrete order. Had we had enough concrete, it would have been in and out in probably 60 minutes, because these guys were pretty good. They do this all the time. So
the other thing that you mentioned before is having some sort of forms for any leftover concrete.
Yeah, what I want to do,
pad.
what I'm going to do next, when we start doing the walls, I'm going to build some forms on some pallets, so I can make some 3 foot by 3 foot by 4 inch slabs, and I'll use those for air conditioning condensers. And so any extra concrete I'll just put in there, screed off, and then if we have extra after that, I want to figure out how to make like stepping stones or some sort of, pavers of some sort. The washout we had on this job was only like a quarter of a yard, and I had them fill in a big rut on the road coming up that has washed out, so that worked out pretty well. They filled that in and smoothed it out, and looks pretty good. So overall, man, things went real well, even with my little goof up, but yeah, that was nerve-wracking.
Now, a lot of people want to know cost of putting in the footers.
Yeah,
like, where are you?
Costs are going to depend on where you're at. Big cost variable is concrete. How much can you get concrete for? Around here, it's $140 to $150 a yard for, well, at least for this mix that I'm using.
We use 14 cubic yards.
And we use 14 yards, and then all the rebar. So rebar is about $11 a stick for number 5. So yeah, do the math, I guess. Couple, 2, 3, little over $3,000, just over $3,000 to do these footers.
So what's next? What's coming up this week? What'll be like the next video?
I'm going to meet with my guys that are going to help me pour the walls. That's going to be, I think, tomorrow. I'm trying to coordinate delivery of the ICF forms for next week. It's going to rain a lot next week, and we're going to get 2 days, I think, of not rain, but it's going to end up being real muddy up here. So if I can get them delivered next week and get them off the truck, I may not even be able to get the tractor trailer up here with mud. So I have to come up with a plan for that. Getting the forms offloaded and transported up here and staged. That's going to be a lot of
hump it.
A lot of work. Yeah, they say they weigh 120 pounds per cube. They pack them into a cube, and you can offload them manually by hand, but we're going to figure out a way to get that done. That's my next goal.
Hopefully we can get the truck up here.
Yeah, so I got to coordinate that. I got to order some more rebar. I got to coordinate the concrete. I got to make sure I have spray foam and strapping tape and probably some lumber. I ordered the temporary power today, so hopefully next week they'll have power up here. Yeah, that's next. We're going to be pouring walls hopefully within 2 weeks.
All right, so that wraps it up. Hopefully that's been helpful to you guys. If you guys are building your own house, in particular an ICF house, leave comments down below. And if this has been helpful to you, make sure you hit the like button, because that helps us get seen by other people. The more you like us, the more our videos get promoted, and then the more we're able to do videos.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for following along, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
See ya.